Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks, this is my buddy Jay, and this is my E30 M3 track car. Welcome to another episode where the DCT gearbox gets closer to the bin. So confession time. So crap at YouTube.
It's been an odd week, hasn't it?
Well, it's been a week and a bit since we last put the video out, and yeah, we've done absolutely loads to the car, but it's in amongst all sorts of other stuff. We had our Driftworks event at Cafe in a Machine, which involved shipping cars.
Yeah,
for 3 days.
3 days of forward and backward to there and back. So
which was fun and great. We've also had a massive HSD coilover shipment, which we're dealing with today. All sorts of other stuff going on, but yeah, we have done loads. So we thought we'd just quickly bring you up to speed with where we're at with the car and what's left to do. Because yeah. Lots has been done, but
lots of little things that you can't really see.
No, and that's kind of why I haven't picked up the camera as much as I should do. I've pointed my iPhone at various bits for B-roll, but yeah, loads and hours of work spent doing stuff that kind of is, I don't know. I don't think it's that interesting for you guys, but I'll show you anyway what we've done. So start at the front, the pulley that you saw us machining down. I just had it on the lathe. So I've turned that down, Jay's fitted that back up, fits lovely. And it really does, well, perhaps not to your camera eyes, but to mine, it does demonstrate how much further back and how far down the engine is in comparison. The other thing that had to do was machine, and when I say machine, I mean get a flap wheel on an angle grinder, the mounts for the steering rack, which I've also moved back a hole that you can see here. We did make this adjustable when we first made it, and the little relief that we've made here for the engine also is a good demonstrator of how far back it is. I have had to do quite a bit of horrible work getting the steering column, the linkages correct for this. As you can see, it's nice and close to the engine mount, which has worked perfectly. But yeah, I had to shorten the splines, drill new holes for that there. Moving towards the back of the car.
Middle.
There's a lovely gearbox.
Yeah, we had that in last time?
Yeah, we did, but we didn't have the bracket, which you can see here. Now so a bracket's pretty simple to make, right? It shouldn't be difficult, should it? So
it's not difficult, it just takes ages.
It does. So Jay was busy on prepping the Hilux. Noisy boys, well done. Keep up the good work, chaps.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jay was pretty busy. We were getting the high five, the Driftworks. The Driftworks Hilux kicked our ass for a couple of days, didn't it?
I don't know what's wrong with it.
No, Jay's working on that. So I just thought I'd quickly work on whipping up the gearbox mount, the cross member for it, and the mounts to the transmission tunnel, which these are the same plates. Jay very kindly cut off the old bush holders for me, and I ended up with just plates with these mounting bolt holes, captive nuts on them. But yeah, this, I'm not kidding you, probably took me 2.5 days. I've used rubber bushes, so what I've done here is, from our spares bin, I've chopped up the bottom of some HSD coilovers to get the rubber bush carrier, because it's quite a nice rubber bush, still got some compliance but pretty firm. So those are captive and held to the transmission tunnel, and then this bracket here that I started off with just some some of this stuff, and then cut it all out and linked it all together. Then welded some bush inserts into the end here. We need some longer bolts, but currently they're just sort of resting in there. It's worked out really, really nicely. We even managed to get the exhaust mounts back on. So these are mounts that look quite low, but they're not. They're way above where stuff sits. So the newly modified exhaust.
I bet we spent a day on that, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
It's simply
same parts, but
yeah, simply changing the angle Or was it shortening it? I can't remember.
We had to shorten it and we had to steer it in a slightly different direction because the engine's now sitting lower and further back. We had the opportunity to improve some ground clearance as well. We just tweaked everything. So I guess we'll show you that when later on down the line when we're doing kind of final assembly. But that up until this point has been sorted. That's all been tested.
Yeah.
Up here you can see, let's get some more light on the subject. So we've got the correct output flange. So did you just hit your head? How many times? I've hit mine.
In the eye hole was the worst one.
This morning you got yourself in the eye hole.
So if I got a black eye, that's why.
I've hit my head off this at least twice. I think you have as well. So we're doing well. Our ramp is kind of not quite tall enough for both of us. And then you've got things hanging down. But anyway, so we now have the correct output shaft courtesy of Drenth, and that required obviously a special socket that I had to turn down to be able to get in there, but it's a 41mm socket. Really nicely made way of fitting that. It's very, very clever with a special aluminium machine cap that goes over the nut as well, so it can't undo. But yeah, that's in place. We've got the flex disc or weve, whatever you want to call it. And here's another part of the drama that took so long.
Another project there.
Yeah, but really happy with how this has come out as well. So I think I mentioned it before, getting this angle compared to this angle pretty much the same is extremely important with these flex discs. And we used an new M5 carrier. We've machined down and welded some bosses to the tunnel here, so this all sits level and as high up as it can be. You notice there's some lines there, we'll talk about those in a minute. But that's an absolutely massive improvement over the way that it was before.
Yeah, it was very difficult.
It was horrible to work on before, so we've made that much nicer to work on. What else have we done?
Well, I've done the lever and stuff inside.
Yeah, I don't know whether you can see up here. So you can see a rod end poking down there, just about, and a hole that's been cut in the transmission tunnel. That goes to, oh God. So what have we got going on up here? We have breather, which I haven't sorted yet. I might just do actual AN line. I haven't quite decided. You can just about see the actual shift selector part of the gearbox up there, and there's a rod that Drenth supply that's is really nice. It's just like a cut to length rod with the specific rod ends either end. So we've done that. So these lines that you see here, we haven't finished running them. We're going to we've got very tight tolerance against the actual drive shaft here, so we've got to pin them to the transmission tunnel or gearbox tunnel a bit nicer there, and then route them carefully back here to the new gearbox cooler, which I'm going to just fit here. Nice and small in comparison, nice and lightweight. This is PTFE-6 line, which is not very flexible but super slim, which is why we've managed to sneak it down the transmission tunnel next to the drive shaft. But yeah, a few lines to make up here and sort of finish making this bracket secure. That'll be quite nice up and out the way. It's way higher than the cooler on the diff there as well.
We've got a temperature sensor to put in the gearbox line as well, haven't we?
Yes, we have. So one of the sacrifices of me doing the mounts this way round is that this is where the temp sensor goes, M12 sensor there. So can't use it. I could obviously remake that, but I'm absolutely fed up of remaking stuff. So yeah, oversight on my part, but we're going to run an inline sensor port on the output of the gearbox oil. So basically it'll tell us the heat of the oil as it comes out of the gearbox. So that'll be fine and quite easy for us to do there. What else have we done, Jay? It feels like we've done
lots. Let's get down. There's stuff inside, isn't there?
Let's have a look inside. Coming in.
We've got a lever.
Let's get in there, Fat Man versus SPGs. Come on.
No problem.
Right. I need my flappy paddle steering wheel, obviously.
Well, it's got the lights on it, hasn't it? That don't work.
No, I don't think we've got anything on this anymore because we blew the module on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, got a lovely one of these. It's not bolted down properly, so I won't rag it too hard. But obviously there was
issues.
A lot of complication with this because the flex disc or guibo. Who calls them guibos?
I don't know. I thought that's what they're called.
Yeah, I think you told me that. You work for BMW, so you would know.
Maybe that's what they call them. Maybe that's now you even say it.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously where this needed to go through, because my position in this car is really far back.
You're way behind the B post, aren't you?
Everything that I did when I was building the inside of it was to get my position as far back as possible and inboard as well. So yeah, driving position, steering wheel is probably, I'd say that's probably what, 10 inches further back than yours?
Pretty far back, yeah.
But anyway, that means that, of course, the lever ends up directly over the flex disc, which is why we've got these currently quite crude aluminium spacers that Craig's machined up for us. And you just... really basic thing. They just rise it by 30mm, 20mm thick, and they've got holes that allow us to go through to the riv nuts that we've got in the bottom here. As I say, this is probably pretty temporary. I'd like to make a posh machine version. I mean, if this works, I might just machine out the holes, like do something to make them look a little bit less like 2 blocks of aluminium.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a lovely Drenth shifter. Proximity to that is lovely. You can't really do much at the moment, but yeah, there we go. That's what it's going to be like. Wapow! Wapow! What else in here?
I don't know.
We had to have the seats out.
We've done all sorts of welding and stuff, haven't we?
We tidied up the underside of this, so we've welded on the plates that were that hold the belts, the eye bolts. We've also got rid of some other eyebolt mounting plates and holes that were there from various revisions we've made along the way. Mess of wiring we've got to sort out.
Yeah, we've still got to remove all that gearbox stuff, or at least unplug it, or do something with it. But that is a project for once the
we've got to learn how the hell you integrate a strain gauge into the Civex.
That's only got 2 wires. That can't be that bad. Is it 2 wires?
Trez, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, 3 wires.
So yeah, I mean, I've watched a video on YouTube Civex channel, which seemed very useful, but it's a very capable ECU, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna have a little go at that, and then probably call somebody who knows what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
But we've battled this for days and days and days. We are kind of not far away from putting the clutch.
Let's go and have a look at that.
Have a look at the clutch, because that's pretty funny. We should have probably opened it on camera, because our response to
with Craig. Yeah,
what unboxing reaction.
Yeah, you should put Craig on more reaction videos, shouldn't you?
I think just pointing the camera at his miserable face is funny anytime, isn't it? So let's have a look. Hydraulic release bearing. Here's the bit that matters.
That's the clutch. It's a baby.
Look at that little thing. Look at that little thing.
You're definitely going to have to get a winch on the trailer for like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I'm fully aware of is with something like this, you don't really do the damage when you're driving it on track. You don't do anything like that. It's moving around pits, driving up slowly up inclines, and yeah, loading it onto a trailer. My new trailer's not got any sides on it, so I should be able to just blast up it in one. It also doesn't have a stop point though, does it? So you have to guess when to hammer on the brakes, because you can't see anything except sky. So yeah, that's a triple plate tilt, and look at the size of that. That is just go-kart stuff, really, isn't it? Or F1 stuff.
Or chainsaw.
You can call it F1 if you want, but yeah, it looks like go-kart stuff to me. But this is a kit that is meant for this gearbox.
You haven't showed the fancy flywheel.
Oh yeah. It's meant for this gearbox on this engine. So
wrestle it.
Look at that. 2-piece. So bolt on. Really nicely made. Not sure what that weighs. I think most of the weight will probably be in the ring gear, to be fair. But yeah. It should be pretty buzzy, I would think. So I'm going to need to definitely work on getting the blip downshifts right and everything like that. But I mean, we're kind of ready to put this in now.
We're at the point where we're ready to take the gearbox out.
Yeah, start looking at what the final bits are that we're going to need to do to tie things up. So maybe we'll just actually show you guys some stuff being done rather than talking about it.
Maybe.
Yeah. No promise. Yeah, lots of comments. Thank you very much, guys, for your input as always. Lots of people saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Like, I've got this. This is better. I've already bought it. Like, I'm not going to not fit it now. Like, and I'm especially not going to not fit it in place of having an 8 HP with a torque converter, which is a very good gearbox by all accounts, and is run pretty well by the Lamic stuff. Craig's got one in his RX-8, his K24 RX-8.
Oh, no, if you go through YouTube, there is a sweet video of someone drifting with one, and my favourite comment was the gear shift sent by fax from the lever to the gearbox?
That just sounds like standard aftermarket control of anything.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know anything about the...
No, we're going to get a load of hate. We're not hating, obviously. As I say, it seems like a great gearbox for certain applications. I have no interest in having a torque converter on a track car. It is just not what you do, in my mind. Too old school, maybe. Maybe I am, I don't know. But, you know, it has no place on a track car, in my opinion.
I'm pretty sure they make a motorsport version of that.
They do, somebody's already said that. But, yeah, so
it doesn't seem right, that's the thing. It's just not right.
It's just not right.
It's just not right. Everyone on the camera just shouting. It's just not right.
Too old idiots. Just go, I just don't understand it. It's not right.
Give me a carb and a screwdriver.
Right, ready to drop down. So we just realised that we're missing a spigot bearing as well, so Jay's just looking on BMW to see whether we can get one for tomorrow morning. That's scuppered us. See the spline on these clutch discs? And now
lots of teeth.
Now look at the spline on our standard BMW input shaft on the Drenth.
Yeah.
So those do not compute, so it's kind of scuppered us for the day a bit, but
that's optimistic one-day shipping from America, yeah, to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty good back car, to be fair. Like, it just depends whether they've got the right ones in stock or why these were sent to me in the first place. But I've sent the email. We'll find out. We can, I guess, we can still bolt this up. Because the gearbox input shaft doesn't even have to go through this. We can bolt the clutch up properly so that we can still measure the finger height on the clutch itself, and we can get the stack height for the hydraulic release bearing. So I guess we'll probably just do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then we'll call that the end of the video. That feels like we've done something at least then.
Yeah.
We've done absolutely loads, but yeah, it feels like we've shown you we've done something.
Yeah, proved it to you.
Right, hopefully we're ready.
So clutch discs are stacked the correct way round.
Yeah, and we can't do, ideally we need to centre this, but it doesn't matter if they drop a bit for this. It will tell us what we need to know.
And also we'll check it again with the correct plates
before obviously this has got to come back off anyway.
Fully commit to this.
Yeah, but I've got to be careful not to pinch the discs because obviously they've got to go back.
So these internal release bearings, it's quite easy to toast a clutch, isn't it, by getting it wrong?
It is, yeah, and we've just hydraulic release bearings. I guess you can go and get one in a second and show them what we mean. A lot of people probably know, but yeah, we've just literally done this to the 964 Turbo in an attempt to make it drive a bit nicer.
And the 86 had one a couple of months ago. Yeah,
we do it on everything. So yeah, it's not exactly a dark art to measuring for this, but yeah, it is very important that you're accurate because the tolerances have to be perfect. So yeah, we'll just quickly do that, and then we know whether we've got to make up a shim. I imagine, my hope is that this kind of is made to all work perfectly, but who knows until you actually get it up there and measure, you don't know.
It's such a little baby.
It's teeny weeny, isn't it? Right up Craig Street.
Yeah, we're not used to this fancy, this fanciness of parts. You know, fairly fancy, and then there's this.
Yeah. Sort of centred. That should be fine. You watch the fingers go in on that. These are double springs on this. It's going to probably have quite a stern pedal. Quite a stern bite as well.
Oh, is it going to be perfect like that, is it?
It's probably going to be lovely to drive.
I mean, they are paddles and they are metallic and they are tiny.
And there's no spring, and yeah. Race car though, Jay, race car.
Oh, push start. So much for moving it around the workshop. Yeah. Although he never did that anyway, did he? He'd just sit there revving.
Yeah, the DCT would just fail and we'd end up pushing it in.
So what's the benefit of the tiny clutch?
Less inertia.
Is that what it is? And the triple plates mean you don't have to have it as big?
Yeah. I mean, I probably wouldn't, if I was going to create a kit for this. This is fantastic because it's a bolt-on solution and it's proven on race cars, but if I was going to have it, I'd probably have a 7 1/4, not a 5 1/2. Just because it's just more slippable, more normal.
Well, it'll just take heat better, will it? Yeah, is that the idea?
This is just race car, so the idea is that, you know, I'm not going to be going around clutch kicking this too much. Well, I might fit hydraulic
handbrake. You weren't
handbrake.
talking about handbrake earlier because it needs one now.
Yeah, I was like, well, I've got a manual. I need the hydraulic handbrake. It's just one of those things.
He claimed it was to save him because you know where you are and you can save yourself.
It's a big thing when you've got a car with ABS, when you're sailing backwards, like when you've spun out because you pushed a little bit too hard. Sometimes your ABS doesn't work too well in reverse.
No, so it just clicks and you don't stop.
When you go backwards, anchoring on the handbrake seems to work quite well for me. The other thing is don't spin out. Which I don't intend to, and I don't do a great deal of in this car, even though it's got very limited steering lock. It's certainly not a drift car. I have no intention of it being a drift car, but you know, a little bit of fun from time to time.
Let's have a look again.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bell housing back on.
Straight edges and rulers then.
Yeah.
There is a socket.
A socket.
Yeah, our bell housing bolts.
4 bolts. Lovely.
Having the removable bell housing makes this bit easy as well, doesn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it?
Because normally you'd have to measure the stack height of the clutch.
Yeah, so we're on the 964. It was a bit more complicated, measuring off the face of the engine with a straight edge versus another straight edge measurement. So yeah, this is definitely a little bit simpler this way.
Yeah, just going to poke a ruler through the hole.
Hopefully, anyway, that's the idea. I'm hoping that that's what we can do. But yeah, it's obviously super important you get this pushed up correctly as well. So.
Okay then.
So, in theory,
you can see the little fingers in the hole.
Yeah, you see the fingers in there. What I'm going to do here is get this nice and straight. And here.
Well, we're measuring the thickness of the bell housing first.
And I'm going to do it in a couple of places just to check that it looks like. Measure that there. Measure the same here. Make sure I can see. And 0 there. So then, because I've zeroed the verniers calipers on here, I can then.
You don't have to do any maths.
Which we haven't got wrong really, but you know there's always potential, isn't there?
So I can just dodge around your
head. Yeah, my fat head right in the way, is it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just show you what we're going to do, roughly, so you can see, and then I'll get my big fat head in there, and then I'll measure it properly.
Perfect. There we go. Now put some focus.
Yeah. So basically, stabbing against that point on the fingers there.
The point in which the bearing hits. That's what you're aiming for.
Exactly. Yeah. Against there, and then obviously now I need to get my head up there and do this properly. But yeah, that's the measurement that you're looking for.
So face of the bell housing.
Yeah, from here to that.
Inner face of the bell housing to the fingers.
Yeah. So 93 mil that'll be. Okay. Now, because it's tilt and everything, it's going to be in inches, so I have to do
Nah, the splines weren't, so hopefully the...
I think they are. I think that the clearance that they give you is something like 0.1 something to 0.250, which...
You're right, which is nonsense to us, so we have to convert it.
We're a country that uses miles, so we should be able to do imperial in that way.
But we only have miles.
Yeah, we don't have millimetres makes sense. The rest of it, nonsense.
Yeah, 32/8. Well, I've checked and double checked the measurement.
Yeah, because this is still a cast surface on this side, although the other is fully machined. I just wanted to be double sure that there's no imperfections, so measured it in multiple places. This is a very, very good tolerance casting. So yeah, happy that that is 93 mil, hand measurement there. Whip the bell housing off, measure the other side now, and see where the hydraulic release bearing ends up.
It's nice that this mounts, isn't it? 'Cause it's quite common for this to just sort of locate on a peg, isn't it? And sit on the shaft.
Yeah, it's always nice when you can actually bolt it down. So you need to make sure that's fully compressed down. It looks to me, I don't know whether you can see that, but the bearing's slightly raised there, so it looks to me like it's got a shim behind it.
And that's not focused very well. There we go.
So yeah, bearing being raised like that, normally that sits all the way in the housing, so I think that's got a shim below it, which is how you shim this correctly. You don't add shims underneath here or anything like that. It's all done underneath that point here.
Yeah, it's the little disc, isn't it, that you drop in?
So I've got to find a nice straight edge to measure with now.
That fits in that hole?
Yeah.
Okay.
So got myself a straight edge. Looks a bit crusty, but measured it over multiple points again and reset. Zeroed the mooning calipers there. And now I can just go from base of the bearing.
Yeah, where it touches the fingers.
Yeah. Down to there. Make sure it's nice and level. So we have basically 2.7 mil clearance there.
Which is not enough apparently.
No, you need to have 4 to 5 mil. But as I mentioned before, it looks like this has got the shim already underneath here. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's about a mil, something like that. I'd be more than happy with just removing that shim. Obviously I'll remeasure it once I've done that, but yeah, looks there or thereabouts, doesn't need any shimming, just needs that removing, and that should work perfectly. It's the type of thing you kind of keep an eye on if you do ever take the gearbox out. I always just remeasure things like that, just to see. It gives you an idea of the wear on the clutch as well.
As it wears, the fingers are going to get closer to this bearing, which is why we need this free play now.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to do that, but that is probably about it for this episode. I know you all want me to rev it up, mate.
And finish the V10.
Yeah, well, they definitely want me to do that. Why are you working on this crap?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I want to work on the V10. We've got lots of parts on order for that that we couldn't order until we got the manifolds onto the car. And I started formulating an idea of what I want to do with it next. So yeah, that will be a longer project. I am keen, don't worry, but I'm also extremely keen to get back out on track in this. That's kind of one of my top priorities, because we've been a bit crap with it this year, haven't we, with track days?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, you've done a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, mine, I think the realisation of DCT just letting me down, and also not wanting to hammer my expensive Porsche around track all the time, which is extremely tempting, don't get me wrong, but yeah, this is my track car. This is the one that I really enjoy driving. This is the one that I poured so much time and money into. I'll have to get it working, and yeah, that's what we're going to do. So yeah, next episode I'm sure we'll be firing this up and going through the gears if all goes to plan. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, thank you as always for buying from the Driftworks shop and supporting what we do here. Always much appreciated. Check it out, see whether there's anything that you want to buy or that we can help you with. Just yeah, always much appreciated. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Check it out.